President Donald Trump has marked his first 6 months in office. So, what are some of the highlights from his historic second term? I'm Veronica Dudo. Let's find out.
This is In America Today from the Ticker News Studios in New York City.
President Donald Trump has completed the first 6 months of his second presidential term. He is celebrating what may be the most successful time period of his presidency with a wave of major wins, both at home and abroad. From a pivotal Supreme Court ruling and a successful NATO summit to a rare Middle East ceasefire and a long-awaited trade breakthrough with China, President Trump has massive momentum. The Supreme Court's decision to limit nationwide injunctions could pave the way for reinstating controversial policies, including the end of birthright citizenship. Meanwhile, global markets rallied as the S&P 500 hit record highs, and the White House says peace deals and economic talks are reshaping America's position on the world stage. Here's President Trump discussing renewed interest in America.
But just so you know, they said, it's unbelievable what's happened to the USA. You were a dead country. We didn't respect the country, the leader. You were dead as a doornail. One said to me, you went from being a dead country, you are right now the hottest country anywhere in the world. The whole world is talking about the USA, and everybody wants a part of it, and they're pouring into our country, and you're going to see that.
For more, I'm joined by Keith Nahigian, the president of Nahigian Strategies. Welcome back.
Great to be here.
So first, how would you describe the key accomplishments of President Trump's second term so far?
Well, I've been in D.C. for many administrations, even working in the White House, and this is the fastest pace I've ever seen any administration hit the ground and get things done. If you think about a year ago, they were running on securing the border, unleashing the economy, and pushing global peace. Here we are. If you remember the first administration, it took him all the way till almost Christmas of the first year to get his first legislation passed. And here we are, major things have already passed. And obviously the big, beautiful bill completed and signed and rolling forward. You have massive investment in this country. I think $15 trillion have been announced. In healthcare, you have food dyes being taken out, colorings, artificial sugars being taken out. On the national or energy side, you're seeing permitting reform, opening up things, lowering of fuel costs, securing minerals, which is really important, and processing minerals. So there's just been a lot happening. It's almost hard to put into a quick interview like this.
In what ways has President Trump reshaped U.S. foreign policy so far during his second term?
Well, I think there's foreign policy in terms of the economics. He did his Independence Day, and he's renegotiated trade tariffs just this week. He announced Vietnam. That's our fifth largest trading partner. China has been announced. They expect India to come in. Already, England has already been committed. So they've realigned trade. But on the international level, you've seen a massive shift. I think you're going to see a lot of countries signing on the Abraham Accords. He normalized relations with Syria. He obviously ended the nuclear program of Iran. He's had peace between Pakistan and India. He had a peace agreement right now, framework for Gaza. And I think we have a peace agreement framework for Iran. But obviously, the big wild card here is Russia, Ukraine. And I think he's working very hard. The administration is trying to get peace in Ukraine. That's one of the biggest things he ran on. And I think that's the last feather in the cap. But I think internationally, I think the world is less inflamed than it was a year ago.
How is President Trump's leadership influencing America's global standing and alliances?
Well, I think his leadership has been through better communication. I think we talked about the last administration, how there wasn't press interviews, there weren't media relations in terms of press conference, et cetera. I think the transparency has led to better leadership. He has had more press conferences than any president I can remember in the first 6 months. He's totally accessible, talking what he wants to do. And I think that leads around the world constantly, whether getting more commitment out of NATO allies to jump from 3% to 5%. That's a massive hike and sure aligns that the NATO alliance in a different way. And I think these tariff negotiations have also realigned through just leadership and playing offense for once across the board.
How are the president's domestic policy initiatives resonating with Americans in his second term?
I think the number one issue that got him elected was securing the border. According to DHS stats, it is secure. The least amount of border encounters have ever happened in the United States in the first 6 months. He also ran on this men and women's sports. He signed all those legislation. I think he's battling with different states to get that aligned. He also has worked on other things like education and aligning what are the priorities to help give people more power, whether it's through these tax cuts, making sure they don't have the largest tax increase in history. I think once this all gets done here, that obviously the tax bill's done, but I think that'll add certainty going forward for the next couple of years. That's been hanging over everybody in terms of spending, families trying to decide what to do. I think that'll unleash the economy, lower interest rates, and I think you'll find home buying. One thing that's in this tax bill that passed was the deductibility of buying American cars. So I think that'll also unleash the domestic products in the United States.
How has the economy responded to the administration's current trade and tax strategies?
Well, I think the business media really has blown it in terms of their coverage of this. They have said that the tariffs were or the threat of tariffs were going to have massive inflation. That has not occurred, so I think they missed that. You've had several months come in. I think they're renegotiating with so many countries. I think there's 70 countries going to line up and line up with it. But the best indicator of where we are in the future is all the markets, S&P, Dow, NASDAQ, they're all at all-time highs because they are looking 6 months ahead and seeing very bright skies for the American economy.
As you mentioned, you've been in D.C. for a long time, and we have all seen the president roll out some policies and, of course, receive a lot of pushback, especially in the courts. What impact do you think some of the recent Supreme Court rulings will have on the president's policy agenda?
That really was one of the biggest stories of this last couple of weeks was Supreme Court rulings that stopped local judges from having nationwide injunctions. What that means is the President of the United States needs to make policy for the nation. And if there's a region that maybe has a problem, they can object, but they can't put in now nationwide injunctions. I think there was really a big decisions in terms of lining up the country in terms of the three branches of government, who can do what and who shouldn't be doing different things. That was probably the biggest case of the year, and we'll see where it goes. But I think it sets a precedent that the power of the presidency is important, the power of the Congress is important, the power of the courts, and I think it helped to rebalance and will help kind of stop the lawfare that was slowing him down.
Do you think that there is a particular moment that has really defined his second term so far? Of course, just a little bit of the way into it.
I think the bombing of the Iran nuclear site was a bold statement to the world that when we say things, we do things. And I think that commitment will actually lead to more peace and lead to our military being a deterrent force rather than a non-deterrent force. When we had our troops over the last year being attacked by Houthis and all these different people bombing them 300-400 times and no response, I think it was sending a message to the world that we weren't committing to what our word was. So I think that was the biggest defining moment that will lead to bigger successes going forward in terms of international policy. The other big defining moment, I think, is the passing of this tax bill and this reconciliation. They'll have two more bites at reconciliation, but this was the big one to show the power of the administration, the agenda to get something really, really big done. So that's been the biggest success by far.
And finally, how are President Trump's recent victories reshaping public opinion ahead of the summer stretch?
So this is the really important time from now to the end of the year to make sure things are successful, because then we start the silly season of the off-year election. I think you'll find his popularity plus his approval, disapproval have gone in the very positive direction. I think leadership, transparency, and just kind of boldness, you end up getting credit on both sides for different things. And I think if you look at his numbers, he's at his highest level, I believe, in both administrations.
Keith Nahigian, thank you so much for your time today.
It's great seeing you. Have a great holiday weekend.
Thanks, you too. This is Ticker. We'll be right back.